We see an economy that makes stocks soar, investor portfolios bulge, and corporate profits climb, but fails to give workers their fair share of the reward. A government that struggles to keep itself open, and this nagging, sinking feeling, no matter your political beliefs, that this is not right. This is not who we are. As if the parent who lies awake, terrified that their transgender son or daughter will be beaten and bullied at school, is any more or less legitimate than a parent whose heart is shattered by a daughter in the grips of an opioid addiction. So here is the answer that Democrats offer tonight. We choose both. We fight for both, because the greatest, strongest, richest nation in the world should not have to leave anyone behind. We choose a better deal for all who call our country home. Politicians can be cheered for the promises they make. Our country will be judged by the promises we keep. That is the measure of our character. That is who we are. Out of many, one. Ladies and gentlemen, have faith. Have faith. The state of our union is hopeful, resilient, and enduring.
President Trump talked tonight about the strength of our economy. Well, on that point, he's right. Official unemployment today is 4.1%, which is the lowest it has been in years, and the stock market in recent months has soared. That's the good news. But what President Trump failed to mention is that his first year in office marked the lowest level of job creation since 2010. And since March of last year, the three richest people in America saw their wealth increase by more than $68 billion. Three people, a $68 billion increase in wealth. Meanwhile, the average worker saw an increase of 4 cents an hour. Last year, he supported legislation that would have thrown up to 32 million people off of the health care they had, while at the same time substantially raising premiums for older Americans. The reality is that although we were able to beat back Trump's effort to repeal the Affordable Care Act, 3 million fewer Americans have health insurance today than before Trump took office. As you all recall, during his campaign, Trump promised not to cut Social Security, Medicare, or Medicaid. That is what he promised. As president, however, he supported a Republican budget resolution that proposed slashing Medicaid by $1 trillion and cutting Medicare by $500 billion. Further, President Trump's own budget called for cutting Social Security disability insurance by $64 billion. Trump spoke about how other countries' drugs cost far less, yet he has done nothing to allow Americans to purchase less expensive prescription drugs from abroad or to require Medicare to negotiate drug prices, which he promised he would do when he ran for president. As president, the tax reform legislation Trump signed into law a few weeks ago provides 83% of the benefits to the top 1%, drives up the deficit by $1.7 trillion, and raises taxes on 92 million middle-class families by the end of the decade. As president, not only has Trump not taken on Wall Street, he has appointed more Wall Street billionaires to his administration than any president in history. And now, on behalf of Wall Street, he is trying to repeal the modest provisions of the Dodd-Frank legislation, which provide consumer protections against Wall Street thievery. Trump talked about DACA and immigration, But what he did not tell the American people is that he precipitated this crisis in September by repealing President Obama's executive order protecting the Dreamers. We need to seriously address the issue of immigration, but that does not mean dividing families and reducing legal immigration by 25 to 50%. It surely does not mean forcing the taxpayers of our country to spend $25 billion on a wall that candidate Trump promised us that Mexico would pay for. And it definitely doesn't mean a racist immigration policy that excludes people of color from around the world. Instead of spending $1.5 trillion over 10 years rebuilding our crumbling roads and bridges, what Trump wants to do is to encourage states to sell their infrastructure to Wall Street, to wealthy campaign contributors, and even to foreign governments.
All right, there you have it. Pretty clear cut right there. You have one politician that's using sort of platitudes and morality backed with zero policy. Zero of, hey, this is what we're going to do to fix this. It's like, this is wrong and we should do something about it. But it's like, what? What are your positions? You know what I mean? So you can't just, what are their, job? Can you just be like, hey, I'm pointing out all the problems, but I don't really have any solutions, but please hire me. You know what I mean? It's ridiculous. But then you look at Bernie Sanders and he just gives you substance and policy right there. Boom, boom, boom. This is what's happening. This is what's wrong. This is what we need to do to take control. And if you look at Joe Kennedy's record, sort of his donations, it's very suspect. First of all, I think if I say suspect, that's kind of being a little generous of me. It's actually very corrupt. Look at, he's accepted $348,000 from the pharmaceutical industry, and because of that $348,000, he's opposed to legalizing marijuana. This wasn't like in 2002 or 2003. This is 2016. He's opposed to do it, and he's blocked it from being legalized because he takes money from those pharmaceutical industry because they don't want marijuana legalized. Because once marijuana is legalized, they're going to lose a lot of money because of the same problems that some of their pills have that they treat. Marijuana has the same sort of effect, I guess, or impact on whatever pain the person's having or whatever stress or whatever it may be. So pharmaceutical companies lobby mass amounts of money to make sure marijuana never gets legalized, and they don't give a shit if it puts people in jail, black people in particular in jail at higher rates. They don't give a fuck about that. They want to make money. But this guy right here, he's against legalizing marijuana because he's taken money from pharmaceutical industries. And he said, quote, I don't think marijuana should be legalized. That's in 2016. And on top of that, you look at his stance on healthcare, because he knows that Medicare for all, a single-payer healthcare system, is so popular that he can't just say, no, he can't do it. He has to say, yeah, I believe in it. But when it comes to sort of voting for it, he's like, no, I don't have to do that now. You know what I mean? He's one of those Democrats that is saying the right things, but he's not really passing the right bills or supporting the right bills. And that's just a sign of a hack. Don't fall for that, Do not fall for that trick of them being like, oh, we need to come together as one and respect each other. Oh, do you guys need healthcare? No, I'm sorry. We're going to give you this little package deal and you'll get healthcare for a reasonable price. You're still going to get price gouged. But still, we have to support the pharmaceutical industry. They're paying us, But it's the difference between a corporate Democrat and an actual Democrat that represents its constituents. And because the right has veered so far right and so far corporatist of passing healthcare bills that would kick off 20 million people, which is insane, of health insurance, they make this guy look good So centrist Democrats are like, you have to vote for him because then you're going to get Republicans. It's like, why do I have to vote for him? I'm sure there's someone else that can run against him and represent the right policies. But again, clear-cut example, corporate Democrat. He's also accepted donations from financial institutions like Goldman Sachs, defense contractors like Raytheon, other pharmaceutical industries, financial institutions as well. And it's like, you think this is the guy that's gonna bring back Glass-Steagall? This is the guy that's going to break up the big banks and make sure they don't gamble our money again? Do you think this guy's gonna be tough on them? He seems like bought. He's just bought by his donations and his voting record. Man, it's like, because he's a Kennedy, I'm supposed to like him. Like, what are Democrats thinking? Like this is the sort of centrist way. They're just lost. It's either they're lost or they're trying to put a hold on the party for sort of moderate Republicans to stay in control of the party. Because if you look at the polling data, progressive policies are all popular from both sides, from both parties. So it's just odd that they would ever pick up Joe Kennedy. Is because he's a Kennedy I'm supposed to like him? Why the fuck would I give a shit about that? His last name is going to make me be like, oh, I want to vote for him now. Why? His policies suck. He's bought. He takes donations and then he's like, nah, I got your back. Oh, hell yeah, I'm going to not legalize marijuana. Yeah, I'm a fucking douchebag. You know, it's just, and imagine going to jail for marijuana. That's insane. And this guy's one of the guys that's keeping that law in place because he's taking money from pharmaceutical industries. And he also has stock in pharmaceutical industries. That's another thing that I don't get. Maybe I should make a video on that we allow congressmen to have stocks in medical fields or whatever it may be. And then we allow them to pass bills that would inflate their stocks. That's against the law, right? But we don't really enforce it. They're doing it right now. I'm getting into a tangent, but still, right here, difference between a Democrat that has your back, an actual Democrat like Bernie Sanders represents policies and constituents and his voters, and this is another guy who just says platitudes and platitudes and platitudes, and I'm sick of it. Just give me policy, and that's all I need to know.